Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the plastic wheel covers that are in here for protection when the bike's in transit. So we can take those away, and we don't need those again. Okay, so the second thing we're now going to do is take the front wheel and the front fork. We need to remove the plastic cover. We need to remove the locking nut off here. Might need a bit of loosening to do that. These are on quite tight. So take the locking nut off, and then you need to remove the top plastic bushel. Okay? There's a second plastic bushel in there which needs to be pressed down nice and tight. Okay, next is very important to highlight that when the bike is packed for transit, the brake is flipped round 180 degrees. You need to flip that around to the front. It's not obvious when you take the bike out that that needs to be done. So, taking the 5mm Allen key, loosen that slightly, swing the brake around so that it's pointed out to a front position, and then re-tighten with your Allen key. Okay, you don't need to over-tighten that at the moment, but I would suggest you do it so that it's nice and secure, so that that will be pointing in a forward position on the handlebar. You can see how that should be. Okay, the stem there is bent backwards, and the brake is in a forward position now. Okay, next we're going to assemble the front end of the bike. So we take the front wheel with the front fork. Now there's a curve on the front fork, and it's important to remember that that should be pointing forward in terms of the position of the bike, not pointing backwards. You see there's a slight curve, it's not a huge curve, but that it needs to be pointing forward. So take the front fork and insert that into the head tube of the bike, and you'll see that these washers come together very snug. Then the plastic washer that we removed previously, that goes back onto the top and pushes down so that we have a double washer system on the front end of the front fork. Okay, so then stand the bike up, and we need to put the locking nut back on to the top of the front fork, and that pushes down. It's quite snug, but that's important to get that sitting onto the top end of the tube, and that pushes down so that it keeps everything together. Okay, then we take the black plastic cover that goes on to the handlebar stem, push that quite high so that it doesn't get in the way at the moment, and then it's important that the handlebar passes inside with the brake cable coming out on front of the tube. Okay, that's going to be a loose fit right now, so we need to tighten up the locking nut. So a couple of turns and you'll start to feel straight away that that will pinch and start to tighten. Okay, don't over tighten it just yet, because it's important to make sure, as well as the height being correct, that you've actually got these in line. Okay, so if I position that in front of the camera, you'll notice then just with a gentle turn we can get the front forks in line. Give that another little tighten until we come back to it in a minute and get the actual height to the correct position. The only other thing we then need to do is insert the seat post into the bike frame. So we need to open the quick release, drop the seat post in gently, and then tighten that up, and that should, as it does, secure the seat in place. Okay, so I haven't done any adjustments on the height. That will clearly need to be done to the particular sizing of the child that's going to be riding the Balanceability bike. Final touches are just to put on the handlebar protective padding, which is a Velcro fixture, and it just quite simply secures over the handlebar and sits quite loosely on the front of the handlebar. Okay, so finally, when you've done all of your brake checks and the brakes are working effectively, and you can find videos online from us about troubleshooting on brakes, what I would strongly recommend you do is you'll notice that there's about 50 to 60 millimeters of brake cable which comes out of the rear brake system here. That's a requirement by CE that there needs to be at least 50 millimeters of cable. What I would suggest though is tucking this out of the way, and quite simply you'll see underneath the brake there's quite handily positioned. It's not for this purpose exactly, but there is a length of metal there which you can actually tuck the cable into, which keeps it completely out of the way.